So he's doing like, I don't know how many days, 5, 6 days, I forget now. And this is good. This is a retreat on exactly that. And so you have all the details, and you have someone who's actually a master in that. He's an amazing teacher. So when he, and I hope he's going to be around for a long time, when he passes away, he will be the kind of person who does that meditation, no doubt about it. He's very humble about it, but he's an amazing man. Many stories about his incredible abilities. So, if you want to find out more, that would be something to look at. Jadu Rinpoche's teachings. Yeah, Jadu Rinpoche's name is. And that's it.
Can you say the name again?
Jadu Rinpoche, its name is J-H-A-D-O. J-H-A-D-O, and then Rinpoche. Rinpoche is just a title. Like, people give, like, the precious one. That's just out of his students call him that. He wouldn't call himself that, but Jadu Rinpoche. Anyway, so if you want to know more about it, but I have a little time now for questions, right? Until 9, is this right? Yes.
If you can give an example of one of the techniques or something that you can practice daily.
The technique would be what's your own mind.
You said that there is few techniques that you use.
There are different techniques to use. Well, like I said, for instance, you could take a mind that was really strongly like a moment early on and then focus on that, or you can try to do it simultaneously. You could do it on a meditation cushion, right? Just focus there and then, but that's a little harder because your mind is calm. Or you can actually be in the midst of the day and try to, which is harder to do initially because we're not used to doing it, but then it's possibly easier because all these minds pop up. You could do that. Then there are different techniques because initially it's very difficult to identify the object of meditation because we're very visual. We're very visual people in general. Like even when we think of sound, we draw like sound waves, we make drawings, right? We draw everything. We draw this, we draw that. In school we have like books full of drawings of radio waves and what have you, and they're actually not something visual. So you may visualize yourself. That's what some meditation, like one meditation technique. You visualize yourself, you're lying on a hill and you're looking up at the sky. And you think the sky, that's my mind. So it's like you have that visual image of the sky, but you project this sky free of clouds. The clouds are like your thoughts. And there's this pure mind. And you just visualize your mind as that pure space. That helps you. It's not really, of course, the pure space is not your mind, but it enables you to get a sense of what to look for. Just that vastness. Because our mind is this vast, endless entity, really. Anything can appear to it. So the analogy that is used to describe the mind is like the endless sky. So if that's helpful, but of course at some point you have to let go of the sky, because otherwise you'll just be like, oh, sky, sky, sky. No, you need to bring it, but that would be a first step to kind of use that. That would be another technique, and I didn't mention that before.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
I have many questions.
You have what?
I have many questions.
All right, just start with one.
No. So you talked about the subtle body.
The subtle mind.
The subtle mind. So this is like when we feel our body live inside, like Eckhart Tolle speaks about feeling the inner body, like feeling our hands and then feeling the liveness. It's the same, or are you talking about something else?
I don't think it's what Eckhart Tolle talks about. Not that I know what he talks about. I only heard of him. I don't know any of his teachings. But I don't think he's referring to that, because you see, the very subtle mind is the subtlest state when you have no sense awareness. There's no sense consciousness. So therefore, the way you just described it, when you feel within, inside, that seems to be a body consciousness, which, of course, when you're in that level, it's gone. There's no other mind than the very subtle mind. And I have no recollection, even when we fall asleep, the mind is never as subtle as the subtlest mind. That can only arise for an ordinary person at the time of death, or for a meditator, through specific meditation techniques that are very highly advanced. You have to have a very strong foundation in what is called the sutric part of Buddhism, experience in those meditations before your mind is ready to do those. In fact, they can be dangerous. These meditations where you try to bring up the subtle mind, I tell you why it's dangerous. It's because you have to work with the subtle energies in your body. Okay? Why? Because every mind comes along with an energy in the body, but the very subtle mind comes with a very subtle energy. And so to access it, you access it via the energies, and when you mess it up, you can actually mess up your mind big time. Which is why Tantra is taught in secret. In secret. What you find online is not Tantra. Buddhist Tantra is secret. Still, there are some things that are now available, but the whole thing you can never get online. You can never get in a book just that. There are a lot of things that are kept secretly. Why? Because it's like a supersonic plane. Supersonic plane. If you know how to fly, it's very effective and very fast. If you don't know how to fly, you can kill yourself and a lot of other people. Now, Tantra, you usually kill yourself or you go crazy if you don't do it right. That's why you don't just go into the army and say, could I borrow your supersonic plane today? No, they don't allow you. You have to be trained in that. So in Tantra, it's the same. Only when a teacher finds you're ready, and they know, because they have gone there, so they can identify whether someone is ready, then they teach you all the secrets, and you don't talk about it because it's too dangerous, because people may use it in the wrong way and harm themselves. So this is how brave it is. And there are only a few people who have the time or who dedicate their life to that level. But Jadarush is one, the Dalai Lama is another, the Karmapa, these great lamas, they do these practices. And maybe also some people we don't know about, but they wouldn't talk about it. Yeah. So therefore it's not what Eckhart Tolle is talking about. I don't think so. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Do you want to pass on the microphone? Who would like?
מי רוצה לשאול שאלה?
You just raise your hand. Yes.
When you talked about different kinds of minds,
Can you say it again?
when you talked about different kinds of minds, you talked about types and not states.
Types.
Like when you talked about anger, you talked about a type of mind and not the state of mind.
Okay, all right.
Why?
Why? A state of mind. I guess I could have said anger is a state of mind, or anger is a type of mind. What does state of mind mean to you?
Type of mind sounds like different minds.
Yes.
Each one of its own. A state of mind is the same mind that changes.
It's like,
It changes states.
But actually,
I don't know if it's relevant.
Right. Actually, the way I've learned it in the Tibetan tradition, they don't have a word for state of mind as much as type of mind. As in, like, you know, like you have a mind, sometimes it's angry, sometimes it's loving. So you have an angry type and a loving mind. And it's not like you get a new mind every day, an angry one, no, it's that same mind that transforms depending on certain characteristics. We call it an angry mind or a loving mind, right? And so there are different types. Okay, so but it's the same continuum.
It's like the same.
Yeah. Just as water, you know, I have different types of water in the river. Sometimes it's like the Tel Aviv water, the water at the beach. Sometimes it's wavery, sometimes different types, but it comes from the same water. Yeah. Yes, Father?
Just a thought. The anger, as much as I know, comes from ignorance.
Yes.
All of a sudden I had a notion that fear, fear of a resultant fear in the future, fear of something that its result will be in the future that scares us, or something like this, would bring anger to a certain object that raises this future fear.
Yes. I think you're right.
Would it be right to
Yes, I think it. Stay like that. Stop.
The liberty statue.
emotion. But it's not mentioned as much in the Buddhist tradition. I guess one thing is like it's not potentially as harmful. I mean, anger is much more harmful. Fear harms me much more, unless it turns into anger, as Varda said, but it doesn't always have to. It just feels terrible. Plus, I think in the 21st century we experience a lot more fear than people in Tibet, for instance, used to. We have a lot of fear because of the modern life. The modern life is very challenging. And what's interesting about fear is exactly as you say, it's fear of the future usually. Fear of the unknown. And that's, of course, a big unknown is the future. And the funny thing about fear is, you know, if I think about it, I'm thinking of my own mom, who's fearful that something could happen to her house. Well, now she's out of that house, but previously she was fearful. She was fearful there'd be a fire, it'd be destroyed by fire. She was fearful it'd be destroyed by a flood. It'd be fearful, and I could say, Mom, but it can only be one thing. She was scared of all the scenarios. I said, just choose one, right? And be fearful of that. Because if it gets destroyed by fire, it's not going to get destroyed by water. If it gets destroyed, you know? Because that's the bizarre thing. This is what makes it so difficult about fear, because we imagine all these horrible things that could happen. You know, that we're scared of being killed by a car, killed by an airplane, killed by a helicopter, killed by a terrorist. And it's like, it's going to be one. So at least be scared of one, right? So our fear is also this fear of the possibilities. When actually, it's only going to be one usually. I mean, you can only experience death or whatever. Of course, it could be at different times and so forth. But yes, we are scared of the future, oftentimes. And it's very interesting because this is also a projection by the mind. That in the end, of course we're going to be problems. That's just life. And a problem can be a problem only as long as I see it as a problem versus a challenge. A challenge. If I see a problem as a challenge, because when we look back, the times that we grew the most were times when things were difficult. The Dalai Lama once was asked, what were the best times in your life? He said, the times when I experienced the most problems. That's when I got to know my own weaknesses, made me stronger, I grew stronger, I was much more in touch with reality. And however many problems there are in Israel, when I came just after high school, I tell you one thing I noticed right away. Kids my own age at the time, I was around 18, 19, were 10 years more mature than myself. Because I grew up pampered, no problem, you know, no difficulties. Here, kids grew up with reality. They saw things for what they are. Life is tough. There was death around us, and they were so mature and so strong. That's why I loved Israel, because I met these special people, strong, mature, down to earth, kind. And I still see this. Because life, when it's hard, it brings a lot of good things out in us. Of course, it brings bad things out too. But it depends on what we do with it. So why should we be scared of challenges so much? Because challenges, well, if we take it as challenge, then we can grow from it, right? Okay, if we face disease, well, we understand our own body is impermanent, and one day we're going to die anyway. So it's a good preparation for that. Be more in touch with the things that really matter, for instance, as an example. And what else? We lose our house? Boy, we have so much stuff anyway. So hard to throw things away. Thank you for the fire. Didn't have to make a choice. All gone. Right? And it gets the economy working because I now need to buy that stuff. I mean, right? I mean, there's always, whatever is negative has a positive side to it. It just depends on how we look at it. So what Varda mentions, again, this idea of good or bad, it depends on what I do with it. It's not in and of itself. What we think is scary is only scary in relation to something that can be a challenge. So when we really understand that, not just about the mind and about, I don't know, good and bad in general, about long and short, but every situation in life, it's not in and of itself good or bad. It's what I make from it. There's so much freedom in it. So if I'm not scared, right, if that takes away my fear of what's going to come because I'm ready, any the greater the challenge, the more I can grow. So there's this courage. It's okay. Whatever happens, happens. And if it's challenging, it's good. You know, like when you go to the gym and you want to build your body, what are you going to take? A piece of tissue. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm not breaking a sweat. Nice, I'm comfortable. Great, yeah, I'm not breaking it. Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable, you know. Is this going to help me to get tougher? No, no way. Nothing is going to happen. I need something heavy. I need to work there to have a long-term benefit, strength, to grow stronger, to be, that's healthy, right? So challenging situations in life, they're healthy, they're good. Okay? It brings a lot of good things in out of people. I was so touched the other day. It's like I had 3 things, they're so beautiful. One thing, you know, sometimes even our enemies, to see that those are good people, the people we consider to be our enemies. Just the other day, there was this Hitler memorabilia that was sold online. No, it was sold. They should burn this stuff. But they sold them. Okay. And who bought it? A guy from Lebanon. He bought it so that no one uses this for the Nazis, and he gave it to a Jewish group. How beautiful! I mean, he should see Jews as his enemies, you know? But no, he didn't see it that way. And so I discussed it with the lady I'm staying with, and she told me the story just the other day. There was a Jewish family somewhere in a metro, in a subway, and a black guy started, you know, some guy who was like, you know, started abusing them. It doesn't matter what he was. And an Arab woman, a Muslim woman, she defended them. And then what really broke my heart, I mean, what really touched me, was last year there was a terrorist and the people tried to lynch him, and an Orthodox woman threw herself on top of him to save his life. I was like so touched. I mean, it was so beautiful, you know? So hardships can bring out really good things in people. Like all these divides, like in a situation, extreme situation, someone attacks someone else. And oftentimes it brings out that real goodness that we actually, this is the nature of our mind, to be loving, to be kind. And if we can just let go of I and me and mine in that moment and just see we. This is just another person. They want to be happy, they deserve to be happy. And in challenging time, it brings out such good things. Okay, the Hitler memorabilia, that's different, that's not challenging times. But at the time of an attack, in one case, a Jewish woman saved an Arab terrorist, or a Palestinian terrorist, I don't know. And in the other case, it was a Muslim lady helping a Jewish family. This is what's so beautiful. So I think it can bring out bad things, but in general, it can bring out a lot of good things. So hardships, I think, if we welcome them with the attitude, we're all the same. It's not so much I and others, we're all part of this big community. And then there's no loneliness. Loneliness subsides, because loneliness is like, I'm here and you're over there. It's only in relative. I is in relation to me, but you are I in relation to you. I'm other in relation to you, so I and other is not as solid as it seems. So if I feel it's only relative that you're other, you're actually part of me, then how can I be lonely? You're part of me. You're happy, I'm happy. Right? Just as my right hand is not jealous when my left hand feels comfortable. Right? It would be bizarre. It's a part of me. We're connected. So why can I not be happy about your success? We're connected. Your happiness has an influence on other people. And so if I learn to be happy instead of be jealous, jealousy is just bizarre. Right? It's bizarre. It's such it's painful emotion, and it doesn't make sense. Loneliness. Right? All these emotions, so I'm taking further from Bala what she's saying, but it all goes from our misperception of reality. Love, compassion, rejoicing in another person's success makes total sense. And the rest only comes from an exaggerated, wrong view of reality. Okay? And then even fear can turn into love and understanding and not into anger. Okay. 4 minutes. No, if you have more questions, you're welcome to ask. Yes? Can you pass on the mic, Bala? Can you raise your hand? Yes.
I want to extend the question about fears to how do you grow or see challenges in experiences that are really, really bad, like torture, rape,
right. Yes.
Beating.
Yes. Okay. So physical abuse.
Physical and mental.
Right.
Some that were abused their whole life, or people that were locked and kidnapped, or something that's really, really.
So happening to yourself or to someone else that you love?
How can one that experienced such bad experience, trauma, can?
Okay, well that's not an easy one. There's no easy fix, obviously, right? Okay. Well, first of all, there are many techniques that way. First of all, oftentimes it's our aversion and the hatred towards the abuser that creates a lot of pain. Now, when we say forgiveness, we're not forgiving the action, we're forgiving the person. Because when we're angry, we're not angry with the action, we're angry with the person. And like the Buddha said, anger is like eating poison and expecting the other person to die. Okay? Eating poison and expecting the other person to die. The other person is not affected by it. Unless you act out of your anger and maybe try to kill them. Okay. But anger is a very, very, very harmful emotion. And so, what could help to at first be able to let go of that anger? Because that's this anger and resentment we have for the other person can be to find out what were the causes and conditions that gave rise, why they acted like that. And to check, if I were in that situation, would I be able to say, I'm not going to do that? Because sometimes you are raised in an environment where we were very fortunate to know that what is right from wrong, but maybe the person, the abuser, was raised in an environment, in a family situation, in a situation in general, it was their life for my life or whatever. That helps us a little bit understanding, putting ourselves into the other person's shoes. That may help. May help. Not so much that the other person should not be punished. They have to be. It's better for them, it's better for society, but not to hold on to that resentment and that hatred that eats you from within. That's one thing. Another thing is, well, to also be in touch with impermanence. It happened, yes, but the only thing that is left now is the memory. Of course you may have scars, but in the end, I'm not my body. Mainly, most important is the mind. So the body, we feel like I've been harmed, and there's this feeling I'm carrying this harm with me. But in the end, it's gone. The harm has happened. And all I'm holding on to is the memory. And that's a kind of mind. It is not as solid as it feels. You know, like sometimes someone abuses us and I'm carrying those words with me all day long, right? And I keep it going over in my mind, over and over and over. It was, in the end, it was words. And if the abuse, okay, now it's happened. Okay, I cannot change it. Past is past, I cannot change it. I can move on. And I can make this meaningful. For instance, if I've been raped, work towards, because now I know from my own experience, I can turn around this experience and help rape victims. So this negative experience, I can make it something positive. I can work towards people who've been abused, like who've been tortured, work towards that. I can use this because I have personal experience of what they go through, and I can help. I can work towards helping others if I didn't have that experience. So you see, there's always a positive aspect to it. If I choose to hold on to the negative, the resentment, etc., I'm going to be trapped in that. But it's liberating. It's liberating. I remember one example of a lady who lost her son, who was killed in a driving accident because the lady was intoxicated and she killed him. And she decided this hatred she had against her is not going to work. She reached out to her and they became friends. And now they're giving talks to people to warn off intoxicated driving. Both go on the stage. And she talks about her son being killed and she introduces the killer. You heard about this. It was on the BBC not so long ago. So, how she's turned around, a disaster. And she says she let it go and she made it meaningful. Her son's death, which of course pained her terribly, but she turned it into an action that helped so many people. So yes, you were harmed, but you didn't allow this to crush yourself, but instead you turn it around to be of greater help to others. She in fact reached out to this woman who'd killed her husband, and in that way she helped her, who was terribly, I mean, I think she was in prison for a while, and then she got out, and I mean, how can she live with this? It's terrible. And honestly, people who torture other people, they're not happy people. I've heard in Afghanistan, I'm trying to think, what was it? Oh yes, there was a psychiatrist, a very famous psychiatrist in Afghanistan who was very anti-Taliban. And his wife actually secretly ran a school for girls. And he didn't go to the mosque. He didn't like to go. And they kind of knew what he was doing. But the Taliban members, they let him go because they couldn't sleep. They were, because of what they did, they were traumatized because of their own terrible things, the terrible things they did to other people. Leave alone karma and all that. Even without considering that, when it comes back, whatever we do, it comes back to us. But besides that, they were traumatized. They couldn't sleep. They said, leave the psychiatrist. He helps us. He was helping the Taliban to deal with these traumas that they went through because of what they did to other people. They couldn't sleep, they couldn't eat well. I mean, they also had a trauma. So if you think about that, then we can generate compassion for the abuser. And when we can do that, the abuser doesn't know. It doesn't help the abuser, but it helps us. Love and compassion helps the person who has it. So if you can turn that around and even go out and help that abuser, your heart expands in a way which you could not expand unless this has happened to you. Right? So you can really make your heart big. But you couldn't have done it if you hadn't had that experience. So you turn it around. And I love that saying, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. You cannot make lemonades without lemons, and they're sour. Right? It sounds very easy. It sounds very easy. Nothing is easy about it. But people have shown us they could do it. It's not easy, but they did it, and they turned their lives around, and they brought a lot more happiness than they could have brought if they hadn't had that experience. That way.
Can I ask another question?
If it's related to that?
Yeah, I wanted to understand how in regards to children, can you teach children that compassion or like children that went through that, like as an adult, I can understand. But like,
Yes. You see, the Dalai Lama, a few years ago, he started a project. He says that our modern education is great. In terms of knowledge, it's great. But one thing is missing. Education in compassion and love. So it's not just about children, one or individual children that were abused. We have to teach compassion and love in schools. It has to be, because children are very quick at it. They're much quicker than we are. So there are projects now. And Israel is such a great country. Despite all the problems you have, there are very inventive people who very easily take on things. I mean, what is it, the thumb drive? I found it at the airport. It was an Israeli who came up with that. So Israelis are very inventive, because they had to be flexible. So again, all the terrible persecution that happened because of the Holocaust, etc., and the programs and everything in the past, but it brought out a very good quality that is creativity, growth through hardships, etc. So this would be something that would be really successful in Israel, I'm pretty sure. Introducing a subject in school where children learn mindfulness, love, and compassion. They have this program in Emory University now in the US. They're doing really well. Here too, there you go. In India, they've introduced it in many schools now. And children, they are very different. So when they experience problems and difficulties, they have learned how to see the situation differently, to have love and compassion for the other person. It's very healing. So it's like an immune system, it's like an immunization, right? It's like a vaccination. You basically immunize them to deal with problems before they even arise. So it's less about start teaching them once it's done. No, introduce it in the schools, in kindergarten. And if you read about, they have very successful, these children are so, you throw out the word compassion and then ask them how you would be, and they come up with these ideas, the teachers are overwhelmed. How good, because children are very clever. So, and it's a natural tendency, love and compassion are natural qualities. In fact, we would die if we didn't experience love and compassion from our parents. Or at least we'd be eventually very, very much impaired if we didn't feel love and compassion. So it's in our nature, and we need it, and we need to teach our children. Just mathematics is not enough. Right? So that would be an answer to your question. An important question. If you're an educator, very important. Oh, 7 past. And your battery is almost empty. It's almost empty. And then switch. All right.
It's almost practicing a stop the mind. אתה יכול לתרגם מה שאני אגיד לו? You will translate or talk in Hebrew?
Is it important for me to hear? Otherwise, no need to. Okay, so go ahead.
אני דבר ראשון רוצה, עוד דקה אחת, אני רוצה להודות למורה הנפלאה, השיעור המעניין והמרתק. אני יודע שזה לא נושא קל. גם אני לפני 15 שנה שפגשתי את הלמרים עם גשם גמגיאצו, זה היה לי קשה, אבל שמעתי את זה עוד פעם ועוד פעם ועוד פעם. זה היה זרעים שנזרעו, ולאט לאט התודעה מתחילה לפגוש את הדברים ולהכיר אותם, וחלקכם זכיתם לשמוע את הדברים האלו פעם ראשונה עם המורה הנפלאה הזאת שנמצאת איתנו, וזו ברכה מאוד גדולה. אז אני רוצה להודות על המורה על השיעור הנפלא. דוד נצל את עצמו. דוד את אלון. תוכלו לפגוש עוד פעילויות של המורה דרך עמותת ידידי, הדהרמה. תיכנסו לאתר של ידידי, הדהרמה. מחר יהיה לה הרצאה גם על ריקוד במכללת ראשונים. יהיה סוף שבוע בקיבוץ מגן, על אמפטינס גם כן על ריקוד. בכפר מונש, ב6 לדצמבר על...
נסמים, איזה מגן? נסמים, סליחה, נסמים בצפון.
קיבוץ מגן, זה מה שהיה כתוב באתר. זה לא משנה.
שינו?
אני לא יודע, לא משנה. תיכנסו לאתר ידידי, הדהרמה, תראו את הפעילויות הבאות. יש בכפר מונש ב6 לדצמבר ריטריט עירוני, אתם באים בכמה שעות בשישי, כמה שעות בשבת. זה בצפון השרון. בכלל תיכנסו לאתר של ידידי, הדהרמה, מגיעים המון מורים נפלאים ויקרים. והפעילות פה עכשיו בזכות אנשים שכבר מ-96, ידידי, הדהרמה, מחזיקים עמותה נפלאה שמביאה מורים בכירים מאוד לארץ. אז גם אני רוצה להודות להם. כמה מליקים מ-52 שלא נרשמו, אז תבואו תירשמו שהגעתם היום. יש פה קופסה בסוף שנקראת קופסה דנה. הקופסה הזאת מאפשרת לנו לתרגל נדיבות הלב בשביל להביא מורים נפלאים כאלו לארץ. נזירים הם לא עובדים, אין להם משכורת, ובעזרת הדנה אנחנו מממנים את הביקורים שלהם בארץ ועוזרים לעמותה לקיים את הביקורים האלה. כל האנשים בעמותה, כל מה שהם עושים זה הכל בהתנדבות, ועושים באמת דברים נפלאים. אז הדנה באמת מאפשרת לנו לעשות את זה. זה לא... נסמים ב-4 לדצמבר. לא משנה, לא משנה. דנה זה רוחב לב, אנחנו מתרגלים רוחב לב בשביל להיות חלק מזה, כמו הפרסומת בשנות ה-80 חיים דוד טהרות, ואנחנו חלק מהעניין שמעלים אותו. אז אנחנו נותנים דנה בשביל להיות חלק מהקרמה הטובה של להביא עוד ועוד מורים לארץ. לפני 3 חודשים הייתה פה המורה נילוסן, אנחנו מקווים שביוני, מקווים מאוד מאוד שהמורה שלי יגיע, שפמדורג'ה יגיע. כל הפעילויות האלו, הכל בדנה, אז אתם יכולים לעזור עם כמה שאתם יכולים וכמה שאתם רוצים וכמה שאתם מוכנים. בקופסה שנמצאת שם זה גם משלם את המקום, את הבאת המורים וכו' וכו'. זה קרמה משותפת. אני רוצה להודות לכם שבאתם והייתם באמת חלק מהאירוע הנפלא הזה, זה לא מובן מאליו. גם בבית שהוא מאוד מיוחד לי כנין, בן של הנין של האדם שייסד את ציונה, והמקום הזה מכיר אותו בגיל 0. זה יקר לי, זה כמו בית בשבילי, ולהביא לפה את המורים שלי זה בכלל נפלא. אז אני רוצה להודות למורה. Thank you very much for the great lecture.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your interest, for your questions.
Thank you very much. אפשר לעמוד.